The Wests Tigers podcast is brought to you by the Wests Tigers Podcast Forum. Join the conversation today at weststigerspodcast.com.au.
West Tigers podcast, episode number 421, joined by Declan and Nick on a Wednesday night. A little bit of normal service resuming here, boys. Nick, I know you were at the game Sunday. What was your one word for the 21-20 win over the Gold Coast?
Hello, Eddie. Probably, I'll throw two words: joyful relief. So, I guess as we can all relate to, most Tigers wins when we do get them, which are few and far between, are fairly frantic and hectic. But just to win that game was very special. So, yeah, we've lost our fair share of tight games over the years, but to win a tight one was just very relieving. So I really enjoyed that one.
I think I've used up my quota of the word relief. It's like Joel with physicality. I'm going to have to be banned from using it because I've used it after every win this year. I think, Declan, your word?
I'm going to go Spoon Bowl Grand Final because I think we all kind of joked or maybe Eddie wasn't joking, that this is probably like the most important game of the season for us, just to get a win. So yeah, and it wasn't pretty. There was a lot of things that we definitely could have done better. But when it comes to avoiding the spoon, close enough is good enough, and I'm just happy that we managed to get the 2 points, because now it looks like the Titans are in for a bit of a spiral, and like we've banked a bit of a lead against them for the wooden spoon. So it's not much, but it's something we can take into next season, hopefully.
Well, normal Wednesday podcast, boys. We've got a couple of topics surrounding Api Koroisau and Adam Dewey. We'll obviously preview the Panthers game and do the quiz, and we will touch on the game for the first 10 minutes or so. But firstly, I just wanted to give a little update. We've obviously been doing some extra podcasts lately. I know it was Joel and Steve on Monday night did one, but on Sunday night, me and Gary went out to the Mic'd Up podcast studio in Parramatta, and I wanted to say a big thank you to Rob Bashara, who allowed us to come out after the West Tigers Live podcast and record a West Tigers podcast. Obviously, Rob and Adele were both on that, but that was a great experience. Obviously, we've already had a little bit of feedback in terms of just the quality of the sound, and it's been released on our platform as an audio, but if you want to check out the length of Gary's beard and how ugly we both are, you can go to YouTube, and on the West Tigers Live, they have released the visual. Nick, I don't know if you've been unlucky enough to see that.
I haven't seen the visual. I did have a quick look at the YouTube video, though. It's really impressive, but you're right. There should be a warning, though, when Gary comes on. Just don't, put your kids to bed, or, prepare them.
Well, Adele was very impressed, Declan. He called it iconic. He said, you're going to be iconic with a beard like that. So I don't know, but we're hoping to be out there again. No guarantees it'll be every week, but it was a good experience, and it was even better doing it after a win. But Declan, let's talk a little bit about that, reflecting on Sunday night. As you mentioned, it gives us a bit of breathing space. We've still got 6 games to go. What's a pass mark now for the rest of the season? Is it purely avoiding the bottom 4? Is it winning 3 out of 6? What do you think it is?
I would just be happy if we avoided the bottom 4, to be honest. I know we're not technically out of contention for the top 8, but it seems like there's a 4-point gap at the moment, and that seems a little bit of a hard bridge to climb, because we're not playing great in terms of like the other teams in the competition. But you never know. I would just love if we just had like a fully fit team with Bula, or at least a fully fit spine, because I think that, like, if we're any chance of beating Penrith, I think he needed to play. But yeah, I would honestly just be content if we didn't finish in the bottom 4, and we could just kind of use this strong finish at the back end of the season to build for next year. But yeah, I think everyone just would be happy if we just managed to avoid the wooden spoon. Like, I think that's the first thing that we need to try. But obviously, like, it's how you finish as well. And if we could just find a little bit of form, that would be great.
Just one more quick shout out. Daniel Hanna is the guy who runs the Mic'd Up podcast studios at Parramatta. And if you do watch that YouTube, he did a unbelievable job of doing all the editing and cutting up. So, Nick, what's your pass mark for the rest of the season?
Probably fairly similar to Declan, and probably yourself, Eddie. if we can avoid that bottom, few teams, I think that's definitely a step forward. Ideally, as long as we don't come last, Eddie, I'm kind of, probably got that glass half full mentality as well. I just, sick of the spoons, and I don't think we deserve another one. I think we've tried our butts off this season, so anything above 17th for me would be better. However, saying that, looking at the draw, 6 games in a bye. I think 3 of those 6 games are quite winnable. I think we've beaten the Titans. There's no reason why we can't beat them again. We should have probably gone closer to beating the Cowboys not too long ago. We've got them, and I think we can probably beat Manly. I wouldn't write us off against Penrith. I'm not sure. I know they're going quite well. I think whether they won 6 or 7 in a row, like they're flying pretty high and coming in hot. However, I will say just a trivial point. I was actually out at work in the city today, and I popped into a pub not too far from work at lunchtime, and Ivan Cleary was in there having a beer, so he's looking quite relaxed. Maybe his mind's off the job a bit, so maybe we'll catch him off guard.
Lucky it wasn't me, Nick. I would have given him a spray, even though he's won 100 comps in a row. But I was hoping he would rest all his players, but it looks like they're going 1 to 17 full strength. So stranger things have happened. But Declan, what about the performance itself? Because we got the win, and that was a huge relief and a big, big boost on the table. But is this side sort of, I don't want to say getting worse as the season goes on, or going backwards or stagnating? Because look, we've won two of, I think, our last nine, and those two wins have been sort of by the skin of our teeth, just holding on at the end. Are you frustrated with the quality of the performances?
Yeah, I think I'm not so frustrated. I take that back. I was really frustrated with the first half because it just looked like we were trying everything to not win. There was some really silly mistakes. It wasn't great at all, throwing the ball around. But I will say, as a kind of mitigating point, I think that like that, especially in the second half, the team was just so disjointed in terms of like their roles within the team. I noticed that so Sukar starts on the right edge, then Jack Bird comes on, and then you got Sione Fainu, who looked like he was playing second row towards the end as well. And then I don't know, I'm not sure like what position Stafford is playing at the moment because he seems to be popping up everywhere. He's defending at right centre and defence, but then he seems to be playing a Roman role and like attack, which I don't really think is working. And then obviously Sharuva in attack's playing right centre. So that entire side is really disjointed. And that was our best side at the start of the year where we scored most of our tries. So that's really disappointing because everyone's just doing different roles. And then, like, obviously Taylan May comes in, he has a blinder, but that's kind of another player that you kind of have to start, building a combination with again because it was Adam Dewey for most of the season. Like, he did a great job. And then you've got, like, Luai, who was, like, the organising half at the start of the year, but is now the kind of, like, ball runner. And now Latu's kind of playing the 7 role as well. And although he kind of hit the ground running, I think he's been struggling a little bit in terms of his kind of organizational stuff as a half. And then on top of that, you've got Adam Dewey playing 13, like a position he's never played before. And yes, he's played in the halves, but like all these little things I think are adding up to like quite big things in attack, which makes us look really clunky. Yes, we've showed some like pretty like classy moments in those tries, but I'm not surprised that it's not looking as smooth as other teams at this point of the season because other teams have built those reps. But we kind of look like essentially a new team because it's just completely different how we're playing at the start of the year. And then on to add to that, Bull is not playing either, and he made such a massive difference to that right edge when he was playing. And we also don't have his kick chase as well on fifth tackle, which like kind of swung momentum for us a few times. So I think we really missed that. So although it was disappointing, I think that but the fact that we managed to complete so high in the second half gave us a chance to win the game, even though it was quite clunky. So that like I think we were good enough to beat Penrith. I would be surprised if that was good enough to beat. Well, sorry, we were good enough to beat the Titans, but I would be a bit surprised if that worked again against the Penrith Panthers. But you never know. But I think there's some mitigating circumstances as to why it's clunky.
You took the words out of my mouth, Declan. I was going to say, Nick, it has been a bit like musical chairs the last month, but there has been in-game injuries. Obviously, Bull has been out, but the one Declan mentioned that I just couldn't get my head around was when Taruva sort of went to centre in attack and Toa was playing fullback. I just sometimes think Benji's trying to come up with too many things during the game.
Yeah, 100% agree, and I agree with a lot of what Declan said. There's been too much chop change, and it's been that way for a lot of the season too, and it's very hard to get any cohesion in your team, especially attack-wise, when you've got players playing all over the place. And to be honest, that probably impacts their defensive attitude and mindset as well. I've watched the highlights sort of KO Mini a couple of times of that game from the weekend, and Gary keeps saying it, Skelton gets caught out in defence so often, so many times he comes in. Toa gets caught out as well. They're players that have sort of the habits of getting out of position every now and then, but with the amount of chop changing arounds with positionals or positional sort of placements on the field, it's no surprise that we look a bit clunky. Buller's a huge out. Like Buller was really a very key part of our attack before he got injured. And like you said, Declan, that play that we had where Luai or whoever was playing at halfback at the time would put through that high kick. Buller was timing that perfectly, and he was really contesting a lot of those bombs that were coming down somewhere near the try line. That's a huge thick part of our attack that we're missing at the moment. So I know that there was rumour that Buller was potentially going to play against the Titans, which didn't happen, and he's not named this week either, is he? So I don't know what's going on there. Hopefully he's not too far away, and we're running out of games, but yeah, hopefully we can get him back. Taruva, as good as he is, and I love him, he needs to get back out in the wing. I think he just strengthens us a bit more when he's out wide as well.
No doubting their effort this season, Declan. It was really only the Melbourne game I thought there was a lack of effort. There's probably a few games there where there's been a lack of energy. Like the Manly game was really uninspiring, and even a couple of the close losses pretty uninspiring. But on the flip side of that, that left-hand side, I thought it was Jerome, one of his best game, and Taylan May. I knew he was good, but I was I was shell shocked how well he went first up.
Yeah, I mean, with Taylor May, I thought that we would really get the benefit next season if he managed to keep his head down and get out of trouble. I mean, stay out of trouble, sorry, and get a full preseason because he hasn't played for over a year. But it just shows you, like, when people have like that touch of class, like it doesn't go away. So as soon as he was like 80% fit to play, I can see why Benji threw him in because yeah, he was a difference. And like, it wasn't just like the tries as well. I really liked the shift to him to get out of trouble when we were kind of stuck in our own half. Like they would give it to him, third or fourth tackle, and they didn't really need to give him much space because he's so kind of nuggety, and he would like get past the advantage line, and suddenly we could put kind of a more attacking kick. We did that a few times, and it helped us get out of our own half, and it also gave Skelton one-on-one time with the group, who's obviously a smaller body. So he created that mismatch, and I'm really excited to see when Samuel Afanu comes in again, because again, I think that's going to open up more space for everyone else. But yeah, I agree. I thought Loai, like his energy was on. I noticed the no headgear thing, which I thought was really interesting. I wasn't sure if that was kind of because we all know footballers are really superstitious. If that was kind of trying to like change something up, but I thought his energy was really good. He was running the ball. Like I would have liked to see a little bit more poise from him because I think he kind of was looking to kind of be the man in that situation, which makes sense because he has been under a lot of pressure. But yeah, I thought he played really well running the ball. But I think there's still room to improve with him. Like I would have liked to see him do better in that last set. But yeah, it was a good sign.
I think Adele mentioned even just his physicality on both sides of the ball. Taylor May, I mean, he dropped. It might have been Dave Fafita, just dropped him dead in a tackle once, and I think there's a good football team building, Nick. There's been a lot happening. There's been a lot of off-field things, maybe not in our control. But if you think about potentially that left-hand side, maybe you get Taruva back on the right wing, you get Kai Pearce-Paul back on the right edge next year, and you get Buller back at fullback. I think there's definitely something to look forward to.
100%. I think the backbones are building. That's actually backbone's probably a good phrase because Benji's been placing the backbone across, the legs and the arms and the tail end of the team the whole year, moving the pieces around. But yeah, Taylan, I think I said a couple of weeks ago, that he'd mentioned in an interview that he was ready to go. If he was going to be, asked if he was ready to play NRL, he was ready to go. And I know, a couple of the boys, I think Gary was a bit worried, and fairly so that he hadn't played for so long, question marks on his match fitness, etc. But just goes to show how fit and how impressive those May boys are as a whole. Spoken about in the preseason when Terrell was out there running a marathon just because he could. And I think Taylan was doing the same. Or Taylan's clearly been putting in the work, but he's not only fit, but geez, he's a strong runner of the ball, and he's a point of difference. He's very different centre to the way AD plays out in that centre position. He runs the ball hard. Got great agility. I can't wait to see more of him. I can't wait to see him in a bit of space too. And I know we'll get to the AD part, but I like seeing him in the centre. That was a real point of difference in our attack as well.
It's like backyard footy a bit with the May brothers, Declan. Like there was one instance where I think Terrell picked up the ball and just saw his brother on a short side and just, just went to him. I reckon he passed to him about 4 or 5 times in the game. But I haven't even mentioned the young fella, Macassini, who's I think eligible to play after this weekend. The spies that watch New South Wales Cup say physically he's looking really good in that, and they wouldn't be surprised if he potentially gets a debut on the wing before the end of the season.
Yeah, I think in terms of like the score we're building, the outside backs are probably looking like as good as I've ever seen them for many, many years. We've got some like genuine like strike power that can turn half chances into tries. In terms of Macassini, I think it's a real interesting one because he is playing in the centres, but then when you look at like where he'd maybe fit in this team at the moment, you'd probably say maybe on the wing for someone like Skildon if he was to come in. Obviously injuries, that's a little bit different, but yeah, like Taylan May just played so well that you wouldn't want to move him from left centre. So then would you put Macassini on the right, where it's his unnatural side? I'm not sure. But then if you put him on wing, like he hasn't really been training or he hasn't been playing there, so he might not have the reps. But I think when he comes in, he's going to kill it. And like people are just saying that they don't think he should debut this season. I kind of have a different opinion. I think it was probably promised to him when he re-signed that he would get a crack at first grade when he turned 18. And I'll just be giving him like a little bit of experience just to see, just so that he can kind of bank it for the off season and he knows what it's like to
Would
play
you
in
go
first grade.
like, would you put him on the bench or would you go left wing for Skelton or where would you put him?
Yeah, I'll probably if that was the position if I was gonna like give him, I think it would be for Skeldon because everyone else is playing really well. I think maybe right wing as well while Bull is out because Charlie Sains didn't have the greatest game and now I think Thompson's coming in, but you wouldn't say that he's not a long term option either. So maybe right wing until Buller comes back, then it would be the left wing. Yeah.
Do we know what happens with Macassini? Did he get injured on the weekend in Cup? Because I've just had a look at the Cup team name for this week and he's listed in the outs. He hasn't been picked in the team.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if he's been hurt.
Wasn't I know Adele watched the game and there was no mention of an injury, so whether they're just managing his workload or whatnot, I don't know. But we'll
He's still
find
in
out.
high school, so maybe
Yeah.
maybe some of
Might
it
have
is
a high
still.
school game, a Newington College coming up against Kings, Nick, or some big rivalry game.
Quite possibly, you never know. As long as he's okay. I can see though that Christian Mapapalongi, who is the 18th man for the weekend against the Titans, he's been named into centres. So maybe they're just bringing him back in and giving Macassini a rest. I'm not too sure, but anyway, see how we go.
That's some good news Tuesday, Declan. The re-signing of the skipper, Api Koroisau. I guess no surprise, but it is confirmed till the end of 2028, which should make it 6 years at the club for Appies. He probably wouldn't have thought when he signed in 2023 that he'd end up, we're only halfway through it, but potentially spending 6 years at the Tigers. Has he got the time span there to become a club legend in that time frame?
I mean, I think he's already a club legend. I know he doesn't have the like success the other club legends have, but he's kind of like the first player that came in who was like a genuine star, like in the struggling rebuild. And everything else we've done off the back of that has kind of had something to do with him, like kind of like getting the other Penrith boys to come across. And he is such a leader of the team. So I would already put him in like the kind of legend status. Obviously not at the level of Robbie Farah yet, but I think that like he should be held in such high regard for the club, and I'm happy staying. I'm a little bit sad that it did cost us the silver, but I think that when you've got Shane Richardson coming out and saying that the club lacks like experienced leadership, it does make a lot of sense that they would prioritise Coruscant because like I don't think De Silva was going to be ready to start by the time that Api's contract ran out. And then if you re-sign De Silva instead of Api, next season might just be weird and you have your captain thinking, well, I'm leaving, after next season. It's kind of a strange situation. So I think they did the right thing settling it. And you can see by all the boys' Instagrams that, he really is a respected figure, like in the playing group. And I think that he's still got a little bit to go in the tank. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with it.
Declan, I think we just need to put a little asterisk on the fact that Appy doesn't have the success yet at West Tigers because I think that's obviously where we're angling for the next 2 to 3 seasons, and I think that's why he's been locked in. because Benji and Richo, well, I think more so Benji probably sees Api as that number 9 that can take us into, deep into finals. Hopefully, a grand final would be lovely, but I guess we'll see how we go. But like you just said then too, Declan, the way that all the players responded on social media to Api's extension is massive. He's obviously extremely well loved. I think he could really be the glue that probably. I know we've talked about the possibility of Jerome, looking elsewhere at the end of next season with his get-out clauses, but this might be a bit of a sticking point for players like Jerome and Taruva thinking about his future. If Appy's going to be till the end of 27 or 28, whenever it is, that there's no point them leaving either. Like they're probably going to stick around too. And I don't know if you've seen that pod that Terrell released yesterday with Taruva, which was an awesome watch. So I highly recommend anyone going onto YouTube and having a look at that. But just the way they all speak about that inner circle within Concord, despite the results going against us for a lot of the season, how tight they all are as a playing group, and they can see where they're headed, which I think is massive, especially as a fan and as a long-time member, as most of us are. To hear that from coming within the playing group is huge. And there's obviously a hell of a lot of respect for Benji as the coach. And I'm got no doubt there's equally as much respect for Richo as a leader. So I know we're saying, Eddie, avoiding the spoon would be great, which it will be because we've had enough of that last few years. But I think we're heading in the right direction. It's just so frustrating, isn't it? It's taken so long to get out of the dark and into that top 8 fight, but I think we're getting closer. So maybe next year.
I did see that podcast with Terrell and Taruva, and they are just two really infectious personalities. Very, very different, but very, very likable. That's how they come across, and I don't know them from a bar of soap. Um, I will say with Appy, like, I don't want to criticize him, but I do think at his heart, Declan, I think he's a bit of a larrikin. I don't think he's a great on-field leader. I think he's great in terms of his actions, the way he plays, but I think there was probably a reason why Penrith didn't have him as a captain throughout the years. I just think all those things you said are 100% true. If you follow all the guys on social media, they see Appy almost like as an older brother or a dad, like they really look up to him. And I think he's been really handy in recruiting Jerome and Taruva. So I 100% understand that they're going to re-sign him for another 2 or 3 years. I still would like to see another leader. Maybe Jerome's the more serious of the two, even though I think he's got some larrikin in him. But I think we just got to, there's no doubt they're gelling really well. I still think they need a little bit more discipline maybe on the field. Maybe that's a harsh take, but I think ideally I'd like to see someone like Jerome just be the sole captain and Appy not having to worry about all that stuff.
Yeah, I think that with Appy, it's hard for me to make comment because like we're not within the four walls. We don't see him at training. He does seem like more of a like lead by actions kind of player on the field. At Penrith, like he was kind of that like classic, silent assassin where, Yo, Cleary would be running the show and then he would kind of dart out of dummy half when no one was really expecting it. And that was his role within the team. But when he came to the Tigers, he kind of had to be that high volume, high usage hooker where he was running the ball a lot, he was like touching it a lot, kicking it a lot. So that changed. And that's kind of why I have a lot of respect for him because he really has taken that responsibility full on. It's gone a little bit less with obviously Luai coming, who's like more of a primary ball player and someone's going to take those touches away from him. But I still think he's taken like a big load. Yeah, I think in terms of, yeah, I do agree. We do need more leadership. I would just love it if we could recruit like a quality 13, either someone with like the ball playing ability or someone who's just really explosive, who can take a carry and that like third tackle and really get us on the front foot with our kick because we don't really have it at the moment. But yeah, I think we are one like kind of quality signing away from having like a all-round team or even just like another kind of explosive prop as well. Because I think right now, like for me, whenever I see Poli, I think he's such a good barometer for like how we're going to play. Because if he's struggling, then it's probably not going to go very well for us. But when he adds that like kind of like X factor, then we've got like an extra dimension in our attack. But so I think we definitely need to recruit maybe one more middle forward.
Declan, do you think AD can be that lock? because I think he brings a real point of difference to what we've seen in that 13 jersey, whether it's been Alex Twal or Fanua Pole earlier in the year. Just the way that he could stand in the middle of the field and deliver it left to right with that ball playing ability, plus his kicking game, because it brings his long kick back into the game, which we haven't had so much with him being out in that that centre position.
I mean, the only thing I think I would like to see more games because we did play the Titans at the end of
Yep.
the day, and I think a really good team would just isolate him in the middle of the field, like make him make 40 tackles, and I would like to see like if he has the kind of motor to make that amount of tackles. And then the other thing is, would he even want to do that himself? Because he's always said he's a half. It looks like he's exploring his options at the moment. It was ironic because the Dragons said they would like to see him as a ball playing half, but maybe he sees himself, he could sign as like a backup half somewhere else and then back himself to make that like starting jersey. So he might fancy his chances there. But I think I would like to see a little bit more. I'm not closed off to the idea because he does bring it in attack. That's not really the concern, but it's more defensively. But yeah, he definitely got the right body build for it. But yeah, I think it's a hold on that one for now.
I'll come back to Dewey, boys. I promise we will talk about him. But one more point on Api. Nick, I probably sound like the Grim Reaper at the moment because I'm bringing up the concerns, which is what I like to do sometimes. But like he's done a couple of really uncharacteristic things the last couple of weeks. Like he was
Yeah.
faced the wrong way at the ruck against the Warriors. He couldn't pick up the ball. Like I don't know. Like that's why I look at him and I just think this club's got to be careful not to burn him out. And I wonder if the plan is 60 minutes going forward. I just don't see it being 80 minutes because I look at him in the middle. I was sitting fairly low down on the grandstand rail this game, and sometimes teams find him in defence. And I'm not saying he doesn't. He always puts his body on the line, but he does fall off some tackles. And I know Penrith used him in that way. Unfortunately, I don't think we got the quality to start with Tristan Hope for the first 20 minutes every week and then bring him into play. But what do you see his role over the next 3 years? 60 minutes or 80 minutes?
I'd be bringing him back closer to 60. It sounds to me like the plan might be to give Tristan Hope a bit more time, especially with him being brought into the he got a top 30 contract, didn't he, for next season? Pretty sure he's been brought in, if not already. So yeah, that's great for Tristan Hope. But yeah, Appy, I wouldn't start him on the bench. I'd definitely be starting him in the game, probably give him a spell during the middle and bring him back on, maybe for the last 20 when we need a bit more spark. But yeah, he has done some odd things. Like you said, I saw him at dummy half. I don't know if it was last week or the week before, where they played the ball and he wasn't even looking, and I think we gave up that play. But
Reminded me
yeah,
of the
so
new rugby league game, Rugby League 26, where it just comes with bugs and weird things happen. I thought it was a clip from that game.
yeah. Speaking of Terrell, he loves playing that too. I can't wait to watch his next live vlog when he's playing NRL 26. But yeah, Appy, I love him. I think he will bring success to the club going forward in the next few years. Um, what was the point I was going to make? I wonder whether a part of his, I guess those, unhappy sort of characteristics or behaviors that's happened recently is to do with the fact that we are a bit frantic in the back play behind him, and our attack is all over the shop, and maybe he's not really sure what's going on. Maybe Luai's not standing up enough and directing the play. I don't know what it is, but
Oh, that field goal set was the dog's breakfast. I know they got away with it, but that play four was just there was no one setting up for a field goal. But I think that's a fair point, Nick. I think there's been a lot going around, a lot of changes going on around Appy. But let's talk Dewey. His performances the last month, Declan. He's been our best player, hasn't he?
I mean, I was a little bit disappointed. I know he scored some good tries against the Warriors, but I thought defensively there was a little bit to be desired there. But credit to him. I did think about Gary's well-being when he slotted that field goal. I would have liked to have seen a fan cam on Gary to see if he celebrated or if he kind of went like, oh, never mind. But yeah, like I think it is. I would be a little bit disappointed to see him go because he does bring a lot to the squad. Like he's a local junior, he can play lots of positions. He's only 26 years old, so he's still got a few years left. It looks like he's put together like a season like free of injury, which was always a big question mark around him. And I just think it would be such a waste if he was to go to a team like the Dragons, like a real sideways move. like a team like probably like not in a better position than us, maybe like parallel, if not a little bit worse.
It
But
won't be a sideways move for him though, Declan. Like he will be in the halves if he goes to the Dragons.
you reckon?
I think so. I think Kyle Flanagan's going to get moved on. I think it's just going to become untenable with him and his dad. And I think can't remember is it Atkinson from the Sharks
Yeah.
they've got going there. I wouldn't be surprised if Dewey's the 7 and Atkinson's the 6. And my question to you would be, say the Dragons do say to him, we're going to pay you 500,000 or 600,000 and play in the halves. I don't think we should try and match that, as harsh as that
No.
sounds, because I think it was Adele on Sunday night made a good point. It was sort of like we've got to see him like almost our Tyrone Wishart. And I don't know what Melbourne pay Tyrone Wishart, but I don't think we can fall into the trap now he's had a couple of good games of saying, he's going to be the next Isaiah Yeo. And I could change my mind in a month's time, or he's definitely not a starting half for us. Is that too harsh or not?
Yeah, I think that we've made the decision that Latu Finu and Jerome Loa are the starting halves. So that just puts Dewey like either has to play another position or be on the bench. And I do agree with that. I wouldn't be matching that kind of money if the Dragons were to offer that. I would be surprised if they offered that, to be honest. And I'm not sure that the Dragons would be that keen to like promise him a starting half position. But I do get your point. And yeah, I think that's what the good clubs do, don't they? They know when not to up their bid to retain a player because they've correctly valued everyone. And like personally, I'm happy with like 350 to 400k for Adam Dewey. Like if he doesn't want to play, I've never criticized him for wanting to play in the hash because I think that that's his decision to make for his career. So if he just says like I don't just see myself as a ball playing lock, I want to like go to another team so I can have a crack in the 6 jersey because I think that's where I'm strongest, then I wouldn't have a problem with that. It just kind of sucks because we've lost like Galvin, De Silva, and now we might lose, AD a few weeks after he's kicked a field goal for us at Leichhardt. But I suppose that's just footy at the end of the day.
It's a big career decision for AD, isn't it? Like you said, Declan, 26 years old. It feels like he's been around for 10 years. Like he's been around for a long time. And when you think about the 26-year-old NRL player, he started at fullback. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure his early years were at fullback for us at least. He played a lot of 6, filled in a bit at 7. He's played in the centres. Now he's in the lock. I'm sure I've seen him on the wing, probably only during 1 or 2 games, just filling in here and there. But he's been all over the back line, and now he's venturing into the middle in that 13 jersey. So this decision's big for him. Like you're saying, Eddie, I completely get it. If he gets offered a halves jersey at the Dragons, and if he wants to be a half, then if I'm Adam
Funny,
Dewey, I'm
Nick, I
probably taking
listened
it.
to Josh Reynolds was on a podcast this week, and he was at the Tigers when Adam Dewey joined, and they asked him, "Do you think Adam would want to play lock?" And he laughed, and he said, "No chance in the world." He said Adam wants to be the man. He doesn't like doing 30 tackles in the middle. And I want to see how this goes for the rest of the season because I think he could do a job for us. He's clearly our best option at lock for me because I just can't have Twal there or anyone else because you need someone, I think, to point Luai and Fainu, a little bit wider. But I don't know if he'll want to do it, especially if he gets an offer of the halves. It wouldn't surprise me, Declan, if we do get him for one more year, because I think the player managers' strategies are a lot of guys are coming off contract at the end of 26 because the new franchise comes in, value is going to go up, etc., etc.
Yeah, I just think I have this theory with like half though that if you're like a struggling team and you're in the market for a half, like you kind of need a bit of star power. Like imagine the Dragons selling to their fans that Adam Dewey's a long-term half. I just find it kind of hard to believe. Like I feel like there'd be more chance just back in that young. What's his name? I can't remember. I think he's
King Tonga.
that. Yeah, Katonga. Like I honestly thought, like in the limited time I've seen of him, that he's been all right. And then they've got Atkinson coming next year, so I would be surprised if like someone outright gave him a starting gig. I think it'd be more likely if it was someone like Penrith, for example, said, "Well, you can be the second stringer," and then he backs himself to take Talagi's position because he's more veteran,
But
and that
like,
would.
sorry, the new franchise would give him a starting gig, surely.
You reckon? I'm
Not
just
that
not
many
sure.
good players going around, mate. Like, and key positions, they don't come off contract. I know sometimes contracts don't mean stuff, but who are good halves coming off contract?
I don't know.
That
It's a good
that's
question.
that's why I wondered because I had heard that AD had asked for a 1 year contract with West Tigers for next season, which would allow him then to go to the
I'd
Bears
be
the
fine with
following
that.
year.
I'd be happy with that.
Yep.
Richo did say, maybe ominously, Declan, that we offered Adam a deal or there was a contract on the table 3 weeks ago. I think that was probably in the range of 300, 350, which was maybe a bit of a shock to Dewey because his press conference, the body language wasn't great at that.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't watch the press conference myself, but it just seemed that as soon as he kind of engaged our favorite manager, Isaiah Moses, to negotiate his next contract, it looked like it was a little bit of an uphill battle to get something done. But yeah, maybe it's one of those things where just like a short-term deal kind of fits both parties. He's signed a few of those in recent times, so I also wouldn't be surprised if he wanted something a little bit more secure. But like it goes to your point, Eddie. If he finishes the season off like really strongly, then it probably makes it easier for him to get like another contract somewhere else, maybe a little bit more money or like a more pressable position. So it's probably in his best interest to finish the year strongly. But yeah, I can't see I don't see like any like straight options for the halves for him. But maybe that's just me like not considering everything.
That press conference, Eddie, that you're referring to with AD, he wouldn't be a good poker player because his body language in
Yeah,
that press
and
conference, every time I asked him a question,
yeah, and I'll
he
be
looked
honest,
angry.
I didn't like that. I didn't like. I know it's his personality and stuff, but
Yeah, not a good
a bit
look,
of
was
an
it?
up yours, Richo, and very short answers, and you can see a bit of ego there that comes out with Dewey sometimes.
You know what that takes me back to? It takes me back to when AD was told, was it last year or the year before, that he wanted to play halves in halves, but he didn't. I think
Yeah, I
Benji
think he
or
said he'd rather play reserve grade or something, was
yeah, he
it?
said he
Something
wanted to
like
play reserve. That was the rumor that came out. Like
that.
that's the
Yeah.
same kind of attitude that I saw in his body language in that press conference. So if that's what he's like, then it's a bit of a stinker, isn't it? You don't want that sort of floating around the team, but we'll see what happens. I think we'll
I
find out
mean,
sooner rather than later.
it's a double-edged sword because that's probably the same confidence that he used to
Good
take
point.
that field goal. So I
Yep.
don't know. Like I think ego, a healthy level of ego, is good for a football team because it gives you the confidence to go out and execute. But yeah, I do agree. I think sometimes AD he can like overstep the mark a little bit.
But that's an interesting point, Declan, because I don't want to drag this into cricket talk, but we have a theory in our cricket sides. We play 15 games a year, and rather than just looking at pure statistics, batting average, bowling average, we have a theory that if we have an individual player, it's probably a bit like Glenn Maxwell for the cricket fans out there, that can win you 3 games a year. Doesn't matter what they average. And I reckon Adam Dewey's won us 2 or 3 games this year, either with his goal kicking or field goals. And some of the other games have been bloody average by him. But I will say, like, without him on the weekend, there's no field goal. There's no win. Nothing to say
Agree.
on that, Declan?
I mean, yeah, I think with that last set, I think it was a little bit like unfortunate because Luai did make the break and he nearly scored in the corner. So like for me, they were obviously thinking about setting up for the field goal, but because he made that break, that probably just put everything, out the window because then he was out of position. Last year probably could have done a little bit better. So I saw that Cooper Cronk was kind of a little bit critical of that, but
But he,
like
but he was the master. As much as I hate listening to Cooper Cronk, I think he only sticks up for the big teams. He hates watching teams like us play. But Jerome, it's harsh because I was going to say he's got to do better in that last set. But he nearly scored a 50-meter match winning try, and we'd been tearing him up on the left all day. But when you get to tackle four and you're on the left hand post, someone's got to be in position for a field goal, and there was no one in position for a field goal, and we're very lucky we didn't turn it over, Nick.
Can I just give AD credit, more credit, for that field goal too, because that ball came from the left side, and he's a right foot kicker. So if you're setting yourself up to take a field goal, you ideally want that pass coming from your dominant side. So if you're a right foot, you want it coming from your right side. That came from the other side, so he had to catch that on his left, pull it across his body, and quickly take it, at the post with that wind as well. It was straight into the wind. Thank God it was pretty straight in front of the post. But that was a good kick under pressure. So props to AD. At the same time, I'll still back Terrell to kick a field goal at some point. I reckon he's got one in him, Terrell. I reckon
I
he can
would
do
strip it
anything.
out, Nick, because I was like trying to watch from, with my eyes closed because I was terrified. And I saw the number 13 kick a field goal. I thought Twal had kicked the field goal.
Can
And
you
then I
imagine that?
thought, no. Oh, you wouldn't have been able
Imagine
to get
Andrew
out alive
Ross.
if Twal had kicked the field goal. But
I'd probably celebrate like it was Mad Monday if Twally kicked the field goal.
just before we preview the game, Declan, and I want to say just quickly, well done to both Appy and AD because they both, like AD's had a lot of, imagine having three knee recos in your career and being 26 and continuing to come back and come back and come back. And I can be critical about his press conference and whatnot, but that's a really awesome effort from a professional, and I'm really happy for him, Declan.
Yeah, and having Gary breathing down his neck after every bad game as well. That can't be easy. But he's bounced back. He's always there. So yeah, good on him. But yeah, I do agree. Like I feel like us as fans, like when the players aren't like in the games and they're kind of doing the rehab, we do tend to kind of forget. But just the day-to-day psychological toughness of getting yourself back to a position to be fit enough to play as a professional athlete in rugby league three times, it's a real like testimony to like how mentally strong he is.
I think they earn every cent that they get. I know they're well paid, but the collisions they go through these days, I think they deserve all the money they get. Um, just on Taylan May, Nick, like it was great how well he played, but it was also concerning because I thought Adele raised this Sunday night. He goes, "Well, the West Tigers have taken the hit for every other club. They've brought him in with this reputation. Now he's come out and had a blinder. He's on a train and trial contract. Half the
Yeah,
clubs in the NRL are going to be after him."
they will. I guess the thing that works in our favour is his brothers, playing in a team as well, and they've wanted to play together forever. So they've got one taste of it, and there's more to come this week against a much bigger beast. And again, it's that sort of Tigers v Penrith matchup again, isn't it? So we've got players from Tigers that have come from the Penrith side not too long ago, including Taylan. So there'll be a lot of feel in this game. But yeah, mate, I'm pretty confident, Eddie. I can't see Taylan wanting to jump to another club. I think unless they throw the absolute bank at him. So if we can give him
Richo's got to
a
get it
comfort,
done, though. He's got to get it done. Like he's had a couple of, I'm not
he
going to say
does.
howlers, a couple of that have slipped out of the net, and this one can't because we just found a left centre, Declan.
I mean, yeah, like I know he's. I'm in a similar vein to Nick because like, obviously he kind of went off the rails at Penrith and that was his local team. But if you look at the Tigers, like it looks like he was close to Taruva growing up, close to Luai. Terrell's playing as well. Like Benji seems to have a good connection with the Polynesian boys. So I just think it's probably a really good situation for him. And I'm sure that article that said that Api Koroisau re-signed said that they're also putting money aside for Taylan to re-sign. So I would be a little bit surprised that if he did leave. But I don't know, like are we 100% bought in now? Like because like for me, if I'm gonna like be like devil's advocate here, like the question was never his talent, like because we all knew he was really talented at Penrith. The question was if he could stay out stay in the right path, like from now on. And so are we willing now to give him like a 3-year deal? Like, do we think that's
It's just the
like
market, Declan. Like if there are clubs that I think will be willing to do that, and I'm not going to say we have to match that because I think there will be some factor with playing with your brother and playing with the Tigers, but money does talk, so you've got to react to what happens. That's why I was almost hoping, that this game came in 4 or 5 weeks when we've already got him locked up or something. But I just think now there'll be other clubs looking at going, well, Tigers have taken the risk on him, and now he's back, and he looks, it's early days, but he's playing bloody great footy that first game. So I'll believe it when I see it. But I am confident. I think he will re-sign. Um, Last one before we move on, preview the Panthers game. I think, Nick, we've got apparently 23 of our top 30 slots are sort of locked in for next year. So still a bit of work to do for Richo and Benji, but I think things are looking good for next year. Dare I say it?
Yeah, I want to say the same too.
Relatively.
Yeah, they are. Look, the roster looks good. I think the roster looks good for who's running out in the field, with exception of missing Dream Buller this week. It's getting it right on the field though, And
Yeah.
I guess that probably comes back a lot to what we're talking about before. What Declan was talking about is the chopping and changing that we've had in positions all year. We haven't had a settled halves, combination really since the first third of the year with Jerome and Galvin who's gone. But that's changed. Now we've got Taylan coming into the centres, which has strengthened it up. But again, that's another positional change and roster change. And this week, I'm really excited to watch Isaac Tuitupu play on the wing. He's a big boy. I know Gary said he might have some defensive issues, but again, that's another change. So some of these are forced, some aren't. Um, and like we were talking about before, Benji's made a lot of chopping and changing during games as well, which doesn't help the cohesion of the side. But look, the backbone's there. If we can settle on who's going to play in which positions, and if we can get those guys playing in those positions consistently and start to build on some combinations, then maybe we'll start to reap the benefits next year. But I think we've just got to get a bit more stability amongst the playing group.
Well, let's preview that game, Declan. We play the Panthers Saturday on my birthday. I mean, what a present playing Penrith on your birthday. It's like opening your presents and you've got a turd sandwich or something, Nick. Like, I just can't see this going well.
Can I say early happy birthday for you, Eddie? My birthday was actually yesterday, so that win against the Titans was kind of my birthday win. And birthday wins are few and far between, as we all know as Tigers
They were
fans.
actually
So
putting up the birthdays of the members on the screen, but my eyes are no good. I couldn't read the font. The font was about size 2, so you were probably up there, and I was probably as well.
yeah, I didn't have my reading glasses on, mate. I was up the wrong end of the field too, so I couldn't see it either. But yeah, if anyone saw my name up on the screen, let me know. That'd be good.
Declan played the Panthers about 6 weeks ago. We always play them tough. They're never the side that scare me. They're never going to blow you away, I think, because of the systematic football they play. But tough sort of time to play them, given the fact they've rested Cleary and Yo last week. They're seemingly back. Edwards is back in form. Toa's playing well every week. I can see us hanging with them, but I can't see us beating them. I can see a similar game to last time with maybe another try difference.
I think that I was watching the second half against the Bunnies, and it did look like they were just in third gear the entire time. It didn't look like the Bunnies really like put much on them, and we're probably a similar level to the Bunnies more than we are to Penrith. But I don't know, there's just something about like the ex Penrith matchup that is in the Tigers squad that gives me a little bit of hope. The fact that, like Taylan, like he'll be like G'd up to play the team that he used to play for. Like Terrell Luai looked fuming when they lost last time. Like Truva, obviously, like all these kind of ex-players. And then I don't know, it seems like Penrith have been going like too well. Like it seems like they could like pick up a loss soon because they are a few in a row. And I don't know. I just think that we could like go through the middle of them if we catch them in an off day. But if we had Bula, I'd be a lot more confident of an upset because I think he just kind of unlocks that right edge, and then before you know it, we become like so much more multi-dimensional. But Bula and then like Stafford kind of sharing that role hasn't really done much. So I don't think we'll have the creativity to stop them.
You mentioned Isaac Tuitopo, Nick. I haven't got to admit, I haven't seen him play a lot, but my mates that watch State Cup said he's been pretty darn good this year on the wing and some of those yardage carries. I know Charlie had an unhappy game, and unfortunately, he pays the price.
Yeah, he does. I feel sorry for Charlie because I reckon he's been putting in a fair effort the last sort of 4 or 5 weeks when he's been called back up. Yeah, he didn't have a happy day on the weekend, poor old Charlie, and I'm sure he'll come good again. But yeah, fair enough that he goes back and Isaac Tuitupu gets a chance. But I'm the same, Eddie. I haven't seen any reserve grade games in full. I've only seen highlights and packages, but I like the look of him. He's a big boy and he's a really hard ball runner. And I think he'll help to bring a bit of yardage with impact as well. I know Charlie has always tried his heart out on his kick returns and running the ball back, taking hit ups, but he sort of hits the line and that's where it ends. But Isaac Tuitupu might have a bit more impact and the ability to carry bodies with him. So yeah, looking forward to watching him. Yeah, a lot of ex Penrith boys in our team. I guess there's a few ex Tiger boys in Penrith's team too. And who knows, maybe Ivan having a beer this afternoon in the city at the pub might be putting Penrith off. Maybe he's coming in a bit too relaxed. So maybe there's an upset on the cards.
Imagine if Benji was having a beer at the pub. Then our three sexy boys just wouldn't They wouldn't sleep at night. They'd be so irate. It'd be scandal.
Yes, not much for them to rant about last week. Anyway, I'm sure we would have copped it if we got done in Golden Point by the Titans. But let's do the quiz, boys. I'm just searching for it now. It's always a recipe for disaster when I haven't pre-read the quiz, Nick, because it always
Yep.
catches me off guard. Something that Yottie's written down. But here we go. Question number one: which 2005 Premiership winning backline player scored the least amount of tries throughout their NRL career? Was it A, Daniel Fitzhenry, B, Shane Elford, C, Paul Whatuira, or D, Pat Richards? Declan.
Was it? Was it NRL tries?
Yes.
I'm gonna go Pat Richards because he played in the Super League.
Very good point. But before you even read the answers, I was going to say Paul Whatuira, so I'll lock in Fats.
Nope, you're both wrong. It was Daniel Fitzhenry with 44, Shane Elford 49, Paul Whatuira 53, Pat Richards 66, despite spending about 10 years playing for Wigan. So you can imagine how
Wow.
many he would have scored. True or false? West Tigers have beaten the Panthers at Penrith in more odd number years than even. Toss a
True.
coin, Nick.
True.
False.
It's true. So we beat them in 07, 2011, and 2013. And the even number years, which we won at Penrith Park, was 2002 and 2012. Question three, nearest to the pin. Panthers 8, West Tigers what was the halftime score in our infamous 23-point collapse in season 2000?
Oh,
I have no idea.
I was at this game. I
was
remember it
this the
very well.
was
This
this
when
the
John.
game Andrew Leeds kicked the goal at the end?
No, this is the game John
No.
Hopewade did the WWE celebration under the post to kick us out to
Uh,
a 31-8 lead and fired him up. And a guy called Tony Pulatua absolutely ran rampant in the last 20 minutes with Craig Gower, and they came back. But the halftime score, boys, was 8 Tigers. How many for Penrith? Nick,
6.
you gonna have a guess, Declan, or are you just gonna look at me?
I have no idea. 4.
The answer is 13, so I'll give that one to you, Nick. Number 4. Name the 4 spine players who were in our team when we last won at Penrith in 2013.
Ugh.
All right. So Braith and Asta.
It's a good guess, Declan, but he must have been out injured because he didn't play this game.
All right. Luke Brooks, 7.
He must have been injured as well. This was a
Benji Marshall.
Benji was there. You won't.
Um,
No one will get the others. That's a clue.
Tim Moulton.
Nope.
Tedesco.
Son of a Balmain legend played halfback this day apparently.
Oh.
Curtis
Um,
Sirenin played halfback.
Ah,
oh.
yeah.
Sean Meaney
Biggest.
fullback, and
Yeah.
the late Masada Yusefa was our
I was
hooker.
thinking of him, but
Mm.
Question 5, last one. Who am I? This is a new style guessing game, apparently, according to Yachty. The host, he says, I'm going to read it word for word. The host, being me, will read the following 5 points with the first competitor to guess the past West Tigers player. I've officially got no idea what's going on here, so this is a disaster. I don't care. Okay. Contestants are free to respond whenever they want.
okay.
This guy was a former Panther. Surname rhymes with an American beer. He played for Panthers, West Tigers 2010, Melbourne Storm 2013 and 14.
Played for Panthers and West Tigers in 2010.
Sorry, I think he played for, I don't know, Nick.
Is it Junior Moores?
Yes, it is. How do you get
Ah,
that?
yeah.
Yeah.
You drink a bit of
Declan,
cause, do you?
You've saved me from just going on just losing the plot here because I've got no idea what this game's about. I'm sorry, Yachty. I'm going to have to pre-read this quiz next time because it's a different game. It's like Wheel of Fortune or something. It's a completely new beast. But how did you get that?
I don't know. I just remember him playing for Penrith in like 2008, 2009, and then like he was kind of in the squad 2010. I don't really remember him playing that much, but then I think he kind of more broke in to the team 2011, 20. But then I think he went back to Penrith at some point. I could be wrong though.
Have you had Coors beer, Declan? It's not
I'm
bad.
not.
I'm not a beer man, Nick. Have you?
I don't mind a beer. I don't mind a red wine. Don't mind a whiskey. I'm a man of many flavors.
Yeah, that's what the West Tigers will do to you, unfortunately. All right, boys. Thank you for tonight. Hopefully, we can get a win on the weekend and host another winning podcast Sunday.
Fingers
Happy early
crossed.
birthday, Eddie. And can I just say, poor old Gary's been in the waiting room this whole time. We forgot to let him in, so apologies,
What a
Gary.
shame. What a shame. Thank you, boys.
Thank you.
See you, boys.